If you have watched videos on Agentic AI, you have probably seen framework like LangChain, LangGraph, CrewAI. They make building agents look incredibly simple, define some tools, write a few lines of code, and suddenly you have an AI agent. But have you ever wondered what those frameworks are actually doing behind the scenes? How does the model know which function to call? Who actually execute that function? How does the tool result get back to the LLM? And how does an agent keep thinking until it finishes a task? In this series, we are going to answer all those questions by building an agent from scratch without using any agent framework. We will start with raw HTTP request to OpenAI API, inspect the JSON that goes back, build our old tool registry, implement the agent loop, and finally add memory and state management. By the end of the series, you wouldn't just know how to use an AI agent framework, you will understand how to build one yourself. And once you have understood the fundamental, picking up any framework become much easier. Let's first understand how an LLM works without any tool. This is the simplest interaction you can have with OpenAI. Our application makes an HTTP POST request to OpenAI API. If we were doing it from the terminal, it would look something like this. Notice that we are sending only two important pieces of information. Which model we want to use, the user prompt, that's all. Now, what does OpenAI sends back? The response is simple text. Our application extracts the text field and display it to the user. The entire interaction is just request response. There is no loop, no tool, no decision making. Now let's solve a problem that model can't answer from the training data. Suppose user asks what is the weather in Bangalore. Now the model doesn't have access to live weather data. So before making the request, we will tell OpenAI, by the way, my application has a tool called Get Weather. If you need live weather information, you can ask me to execute it. Now our response becomes larger. The only major difference is this new tool section. We are not sending our code to the OpenAI. We are simply describing what tools are available and what do they do. Now, what does the OpenAI returns now? The response is completely different. Instead of answering question directly, the model returns a function call. It's essentially saying, I can't answer this yet. Please execute getWeather function with the argument city is equal to Bangalore, and then comes back with the result. This is one of the most important concepts in agentic AI. Now, the LLM never executes your function. It only decides which tool should be used and what argument should be passed. Now, what happens next? Now it receives the JSON, extract the tool name, extract the argument. We will call our function get the weather and send result back to the OpenAI. And in return, we will receive the final answer. This is where our application becomes much more than API client. It becomes the orchestrator. It reads model instruction, executes the request, tool send and result back, and keep this conversation going until the model has enough information to generate the final answer. Now that we have understand overall flow, let's actually write the code. Don't worry about the tools or agent yet. At this stage, we are simply sending a prompt to the OpenAI and getting back a text response. That's it. Now let's go through the code line by line. So first of all, we are going to import our packages. The first thing we do is to import a few standard Go packages. First is net HTTP, which will help us to send HTTP requests, then bytes, which help us to convert our JSON into something that can be sent in the request body. Then IO allow us to read the response from the OpenAI, and FMT is simply used to print the response to the console. Notice that we are only using Go standard library, no OpenAI SDK, no framework, just plain HTTP. Next, we will store our API key. So this is how OpenAI knows who is making the request. In production, you should never hard code your API key like this. Instead, load it from an environment variable. But for the learning purpose, we are keeping it here, making the code easier to understand. Now we will create the request body. That will be a JSON that we will send to OpenAI. There are only two important fields here. The first is the model. We are telling OpenAI which model we want to use. Second is the input. This is simply the user prompt. That's all we are sending. There is no tool, no memory, no conversation history, just a single prompt. Next, we will create an HTTP request. The method is post because we are sending data to the server. The URL points to OpenAI Response API, and finally, we attach our JSON as the body of the request. At this point, we have created the request, but we haven't sent it yet. Now we will add some header. Now, because every HTTP request contains headers, the authorization header tell OpenAI who we are. The word bearer simply means we are using a bearer token for authentication. The second header tells OpenAI that we are sending JSON. Without these header, the request wouldn't work correctly. Now we can create an HTTP client. Think of client as the object responsible for sending requests over the internet. It's like a browser, except we are using it directly from Go. Now this is the moment the request actually leaves our application. Until now, we have only been preparing it. We call client.do. Like it will help Go to send an HTTP request to OpenAI server. The server processes the request and return a response. Now, like whatever the OpenAI send back the JSON, the response body is a stream of bytes. So we read the entire stream into memory using .I read.all. Now we have complete JSON response. Finally, we can convert those bytes into string and print them. If we run this program, we will see something similar to this. Notice something important here, the model didn't return the plain text, it returned JSON. Inside that JSON is an output array. Inside that array is a messages. Inside the messages is a content array, and finally inside the content array is the actual text generated by the model. So the complete flow is actually very simple. User gives a user prompt. Our application packages that prompt into JSON. We send an HTTP request to OpenAI. OpenAI returns the JSON. We extract the generated text and show it to the user. Now we will add something completely new, that is tools. And that's where the model will stop giving direct answer and instead start telling our application which function to execute. That's the first step towards building a real AI agent.